Today we're going to be going over the Dispatch comics, which sheds light on certain characters' dynamics and history. Dispatch issue 1 part 1 is titled Splash and starts off with Waterboy having a dream and being overjoyed to finally use toilet paper. Weird, I know, but let me explain. You see on page 2, we notice him turning off the alarm clock, which is wrapped in some hydrophobic coating. This is because everything Waterboy touches gets wet. He has some control over his powers, but at the end of the day, he can't completely shut them off. This makes everyday life harder than it needs to be. Something as simple as using toilet paper is impossible, even though he's basically a human bidet. However, the need for him to use toilet paper may not be for him, but rather his grandma, who calls him Herm and needs his help daily. Just a reminder, not all heroes wear capes, and we can tell that Herm here is definitely her hero. We also see that the house is filled with towels and coverings to keep things dry, except for the poor cats. And as he leaves, we see that everywhere he goes, chaos follows. From flooding a hole full of ducks to accidentally soaking people on the street. At one point, he even gets hit by Flambe, who ironically yells, "You hit my car," even though he's the one who should be looking at where people are on the street. The issue ends by revealing that all of this was just a setup for when Waterboy finally meets Mechaman, the same scene that we saw back in episode 2 of Dispatch's game. The cover of Splash was done by Dan Hip, who is most known for his work with Teen Titans Go, but has done a wide range of stories like Adventure Time to the Absolute Universe and even Marvel's X-Men. This story was written by Polly, who also writes for the game and has done 12 years of video game industry stuff. She really started from the bottom as an intern to game designer and even nowadays producer. Chuck Beebe did the art and color. He also worked on Teen Titans Go as a background artist, which is kind of funny since he has a very heavy metal vibe to him and some of his other works too. The letters were done by Jared K. Fletcher. The dude has a lot of impressive work under his belt for both DC and X-Men properties. If you can think of a popular superhero, chances are he's worked on one of their stories. Issue 1 part 2 of Dispatch's comic titled The Last Bender starts off with Sonar and Malevola as roommates. It looks like Malevola was responsible for getting them both work at the SDN under the Phoenix program. How they met is unclear, but one thing is obvious in this story. When they party, they go all out. To celebrate, they decided to go out one last time before becoming heroes. They went to an adult show club where they enjoyed the ladies' talents. We even see Sonar try to tip this performer with a plastic card instead of dollars, which I guess is better than getting coins thrown at. They even get approached by a polyamorous couple who said that they're very open-minded. Reminds me of somebody. They invite them back to their place. Sonar is trying to get one of them to invest in a coin that may or may not be a rug pull waiting to happen. I mean, the guy did get busted for tax evasion and other scummy things. Meanwhile, we see that Mel pickpockets the other guy with her tail. I'm pretty sure this is where Sonar got the money to finally tip the same individual that we saw earlier. The evening ends in pure chaos, with Sonar transforming and the two getting so wasted that they somehow ended up in space. I'm guessing Malevola's teleporting powers had something to do with that. The comic finishes with them heading into their first day at the SDN, totally wasted from their last bender. The cover for The Last Bender was done by David Nakayama. Sorry if I mispronounced his name. I recorded this several times and never felt like I was saying it right, but he really did kick some serious butt with this cover, which you can also buy a t-shirt of it directly from Ad Hoc's website. He has done popular Marvel and DC hero stories as well as Absolute Batman. The artist for this comic book was Dave Crossland, who's also a gamer and manga enjoyer. He's done illustration for Invader Zim and was an Emmy nominee for Intergalactic and Solar Opposites. Susie Matson is also a writer for Ad Hoc, as well as doing work as a community coordinator for Epic Games too. Eric Anderson did the colors. He's also worked on Teen Titans Go, as well as BoJack Horseman. Lastly, we have Jared K. Fletcher again, who has worked on a lot of cool Marvel and DC properties, which has earned praise and accolades, such as the Will Eisner Comic Industry Award. Issue 2 part 1 of Dispatch's comic titled Deux is all about Punch Up and Coupe. This amazing art cover tells you exactly how this story ends, in a dramatic explosion. Trust me. To my surprise, this comic is in a noir style, or maybe they were going for a manga one. However, one thing I really love about this story is seeing Coupe's previous outfit. It's basically mimicking that of a ballerina, which becomes quickly relevant. She starts off the story by narrating how her hit jobs typically go. Basically how cold, cunning, and quick they are. However, this one's different. Her target was Punch Up, who quickly was able to deduce this silent assassin was here after him. Maybe it was fate, but Punch Up was watching a film with a ballerina, a film that he couldn't change the channel of, while Coupe was dressed up as one. It startled her and threw her off her game. The two would eventually clash blows. We knew that Punch Up had the strength of 10 men, but this one shot also confirms that his adorability is off the charts too, when he was able to tank Coupe's knives. And to my surprise as well, it seems Coupe is quite resilient too, because she was able to survive a direct hit from Punch Up, whose strike left cracks in the wall. It's said that when two warriors fight, they can exchange their feelings and thoughts with their blows. Maybe this quick skirmish led them both to state the obvious: they were smoking hot. So just like the cover art, this comic ended in an explosive night neither would ever forget. Rip to the people who kicked Coupe off the team. Deux, the artist has done work with Critical Role, as well as concept work for Apex's stories from the Outlands, which are just breathtaking to watch. And the writer from this story may sound familiar, seeing how it is the voice actor of Coupe. Talk about a match made in heaven, to be honest. She has worked with the likes of Riot Games, Netflix, CBS, Paramount, and Nickelodeon. The person who was in charge of the letters also has done work for a lot of notable stories, ranging from Batman, The Watchmen, Booster Gold, Swamp Thing, just a buttload of stuff really. And the cover artist has done amazing work for other indie projects too. Shellshock is the title of Dispatch Issue 2 Part 2. And judging from this glorious cover, you can easily tell this is about Blonde Blazer and Phenomaman. This story gives us more insight as to why they broke up, and it actually starts moments after Phenomaman and Blonde Blazer left Robert Robertson III to get an exquisite meal in Japan. You can tell that Phenomaman is enjoying himself and the attention that his superpower and identity gives him, while Blonde Blazer isn't as thrilled, especially when she asks Phenomaman a question about their future, where he sees them in 5 years. This is when Phenomaman states that he envisions them continuing their heroic duties and battles for as long as possible, that their cause only ends when a galactic opponent so strong causes them and all of Earth to be swallowed up. Yeah, very Thor/Vikings coded. For those who decided to pick a date with Blonde Blazer, we find out that her powers are possibly tied to a stone, and her real alias is Mandy. Blonde Blazer talks about how she wants to settle down one day and live a normal life, or at least close to it. And Phenomaman, being foreign to Earth's customs and understanding, basically replies saying that she should stay as Blonde Blazer, as well as sample his raw delicacies. I don't really know what that means. I'm hoping that he's talking about the chef's sushi in this context. I guess only the writer will really know. At this point, you notice that Blonde Blazer seems more relieved as she brutally says goodbye, and thus leaving Phenomaman shell-shocked. The cover art for Dispatch's Shellshock comic was done by David Liu, who has worked on a lot of Street Fighter comics too, which kind of makes sense now when looking at this cover art. To be honest, this art is giving me a lot of like Chun-Li vibes, and if you like the way Oda draws women, you might love Liu's work as well. Coupe's voice actor was also the writer for this story too. One thing I didn't mention before is that she's basically a jack of all trades. She's someone who has done work from the likes of Dr. Phil Show to Riot freaking Games. Yeah, talk about ridiculous range. Shauna Mills was in charge of the art and color too. She worked on a lot of cool stories as an artist and director, like Fairy Odd Parents, Rise of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Guardians of the Galaxy Animation, Boondocks, and like so much more. And Sal here is once again the letterist for this comic. If there's a popular DC character you can think of, he probably has worked on one of their stories beforehand. Fun fact, he's also done some stuff for Ben 10 comics too. Get Up, which is the title of Dispatch issue 3, tells us how Robert got his ear injured as well as how his dad used to look. Robert Robertson Jr., aka the previous Mechaman, is holding a cookout with the Bridge Brigade, located in California. We see a younger and fully alive Chase. Regardless, Chase is all in when it comes to letting Elliot Connors onto the team. The same Elliot Connors who would eventually become Shroud, the villain who bests Mechaman and responsible for Robert Robertson III's dad's death. Robert Jr. on the other hand doesn't seem as hasty with letting Eli onto the team. Chase also reconfirms to us that Elliot Connors is the one who made the Astro Pulse. The next thing we see is Eli coming over and begging for a quick vote to let him onto the team. Mr. Robertson Jr. then proceeds to tell us a hilarious story that made Chase spit out his drink, the same drink that messed up with Eli's headgear. And to be fair, how do you make an incredible device like the Astro Pulse but forget to make the headgear waterproof? Kinda asks for it. Moments after this incident though, Mechaman's suit defense protocols were initiated. Being the fastest hero there, Chase rushed into action, moving past everyone to get to a younger Robert Robertson III, who seemed to have been hammering at the suit. Chase was able to see him, but we see a fresh wound on Robbie's ear, as well as a dislocated shoulder. His father was able to disactivate the suit and told him to get up. We quickly fast forward to a new grown-up Mechaman, unconscious. However, a voice keeps echoing, reminding him of his mission, his goal. This voice wakes him up. Maybe this voice was his dad watching over him, or maybe it was just memories of him. Regardless, this shows us, the reader, his determination to not give in. Because if he truly wants to be a hero, if he truly wants revenge for his father, and if he wants to live another day, he'll need to get up Cover for Dispatch's comic titled Get Up was done by the legendary Jay Lee, the same guy who has been killing it with the Absolute Universe, as well as a number of other DC and Marvel projects in the past. Honestly, I don't know what to tell you, the man is a machine, with how many bangers he's been putting out over the years. And a writer for this comic book is a senior writer for Dispatch in general. So if you like the story, then you can thank him for being a factor in it. The artist for this story has done work for Adidas, the 2016 Summer Olympics, Netflix, and Warner Brothers Animations. The colorist has done work for the likes of Star Trek and a G.I. Joe trading card game. He's currently a teacher for a private high school, and surprise, surprise, Sal once again is here as the letterist. I guess you can say he's quite good at his job as one based on his resume and the fact that he also teaches too. I guess the saying of those who can't do teach is a lie when it comes to these two guys. Death of Mechaman. It's issue 4 of Dispatch. It shows us the real reason why Elliot Connors portrayed Robert Robertson Jr. and how Shroud was truly born. We open up to Mechaman working on his suit, just before Eli barged in. He expressed his displeasure that a vote to let him on the Bridge Brigade was cancelled for the 5th time. After a bit of back and forth, Eli issued a challenge. If he beats Mechaman, he's on the team, as well as the Astral Pulse returning to its maker, Eli. This basically means Mechaman would be seriously underpowered in the future if he were to lose. The stakes were high, and just like that, Eli would juice himself up like he was on Venom from the Batman comics. This version of Eli was no longer a short, stubby man, but a behemoth that towered over Robbie. However, Robert didn't flinch. In fact, he refused to get into suit at all, saying that it would be a waste to do so. Therefore, this should have been an easy peasy win for Eli, right? Well, the problem is that Mechaman is dangerous and cunning without his suit too. As if this was a street fight, he played a little dirty by throwing a towel over Eli's face and using that as an opportunity to break him piece by piece. Before delivering the final blow, he says, "Let's lift the shroud so you can see this one coming." Not only does this tell us Robbie indirectly gave Eli the name Shroud, but implies that he helped create him too. You see, Robert's dad didn't give Eli a proper chance to be the hero he wanted to, despite helping so many people and having the potential to aid even more. The next Mechaman, Robert Robertson III, did the opposite. He gave people multiple opportunities to be better, and even when they had to cut someone from the team, that person ended up being a villain. It's almost as if a person without a team or surrounded by those with good intentions can quickly turn evil and twisted. Luckily, Chase, aka Trackstar, was able to stop Robert from doing more damage to Eli. Shortly after, Chase questioned Robert why did he go so hard on Eli. Robert stated that Eli started the fight, which is fair, and revealed that he never intended to end Eli's life, but to test him one last time. He goes on to say that he had to go hard on Eli because villains would not pull their punches, that his intuition told him who was really cut out to be a hero, like how it did for Chase, but not Eli. However, it seems Robert had a slight change of heart, saying if Eli came back tomorrow, then that would prove that he's a hero, and thus everyone would live happily ever after. Well, maybe in a different timeline, that is. Instead, the elevator opens up to not Eli, but a man with a bloody rag. A bloody rag shamefully given to him by Mechaman, the same one who broke Eli down and left nothing but anger as well as humiliation to build himself up into something hideous. This was the birth of Shroud's first steps, the man who Robbie helped create, a byproduct of a failed mentor. He fired his gun so fast that even Trackstar couldn't negate the fatal wound. This tells us a couple of things. One, that Shroud embellished how Robbie perished, and two, that Robbie had a hand in the death of Mechaman. The cover art for Death of Mechaman was done by Betty, who is incredibly good at her job and has a wide range of art styles too. Feel free to check out her Instagram. The color was done by Lorenzo Scaramella, and if you couldn't tell from that name, he's Italian and has done work with the likes of Aftershock, Mad Cave, Dynamite, Tokyo Pop, and just many others. The story was once again written by Dispatch's senior writer, so if you overall like the narrative of the game, then you probably can thank him for that. Andy McDonald is described as a drawing machine who has worked on many stories, including the likes of Wolverine, She-Hulk, Spider-Man, Batman, and the list goes on really. Basically any popular superhero you can think of, then chances are he has touched them, with consent of course. Dispatch's bio says he specializes with robots, which can see in detail when looking at Robbie's suit and details of Eli's exoskeleton. The letters were done by Jared K. Fletcher, who has a deep bag of works under his belt too, ranging from X-Men stories, Spider-Gwen, Batman Year 100, Avengers, Rage of Ultron, and so much more. So those are all the comic book stories that we have in the Dispatch universe so far. If any new ones come out, I will definitely make a short on it. And if you want to know how to get the Dispatch comics yourself and support the team, I left the link in the descriptions down below. Till then, stay safe, be a KDA warrior, and I'll see you guys later.